Jean-Philippe Foegle, who's a lawyer who's worked with and advised whistleblowers such as, but not, as far as I know, Julian Assange. Thank you, sir, for being with us. Can you outline for us just very briefly what your position is on the Assange case?
Good night, and thank you for the invitation. In February, we sent a letter to the High Commissioner for Human Rights of the Council of Europe. We stressed on all the human rights violations that are at stake in the Assange case. Of course, it has already been outlined that Assange is in a very severe health condition. He's been a de facto prisoner in the Ecuador embassy in London, so his health condition is very weak, and he might even die if he's sent to the US. So that's one first problem. In Europe, the European Convention on Human Rights is prohibiting ill treatment, so you can't send someone to a country where he might die. And he actually might die in the US if he's sent there, because he is risking 175 years of prison there. But also what has been stressed by a lot of human rights defenders, including us, but also Amnesty International and also the New York Times and a lot of media outlets, is that it's the first time that a grand jury in the US is prosecuting someone not for stealing information, not for stealing classified information, not for disclosing classified information to an enemy, but for basically doing what the press does every day, that is disclosing information to the public. It might be, and if Assange today, who thinks himself as a journalist, can be prosecuted and sent back to the US for disclosing classified information, it means that tomorrow or the day after, people in the US, people from the New York Times, people from Le Monde in France, or any journalist anywhere in the world might also be prosecuted for this. Because the problem is that the Espionage Act, which was enacted to fight espionage, and mainly from the Germans, because it was enacted in 1917, is now being used for the first time not only against people who are stealing information, not only against people from foreign governments, but against people who present themselves as journalists.
Indeed, as a card-carrying journalist of some 3 decades now myself, I hear exactly what you're saying. Is this about then state secrets, or is it about muzzling the press? Is it a question of interfering with the freedom of the press?
It's actually both, because since 2001 in the US, but also in France and other countries, there's been a movement of overclassification of information. So a lot of information that should be presented to the public is now being withheld from the government, and that's basically what WikiLeaks has been doing is basically what journalists should have been doing, what journalists are actually doing. But I mean, WikiLeaks has been exposing a lot of human rights violation, a lot of information that should not have been withheld from public eye, and that's why even though Assange's personality is quite controversial, we should defend WikiLeaks, because what WikiLeaks has been doing was extremely important in exposing massive human rights violations, especially in Iraq. But it might also be stressed that today, since Assange, a lot of journalists have taken WikiLeaks model, that is the model of leaking, that is having databases where independent sources can send information to a journal, and this allows the press to have access to a lot of documents they might not have been able to access otherwise.
Jean-Philippe Foegle, thank you for that insight into certainly your position on the Assange affair. The trial, of course, will continue. And Jean-Philippe, thank you very much for giving us that analysis. We, of course, are keeping an eye on all developments.